Hey, what's going on, guys? 24/7 LO here today. We're attempting to do our first podcast, just kind of talking some real estate talk. I'm joined today by my good friend and business partner, Ozzy Korn, who's got the stats, the data, the numbers, and the Phoenix market. You'll want to listen to this. Ozzy's been in the industry. How long you been in the game, Ozzy? Like a decade almost, it seems like.
Running right around 8 years. So yeah, I've
Nice.
been servicing pretty much all the Phoenix area, the West Valley primarily, but we do East Valley work as well. Anything out of that, obviously be referral, but yeah, we've been doing that pretty much for 8 years now.
That's awesome, man. And I've had the pleasure of working with you probably for the last 4 or 5 years of those.
Yep.
Plenty of transactions under our belt, man, from some easy ones to some of them that cost some grays in our face. But,
I'm
but
starting to get gray hair, man. You know.
hey, it happens, man. It happens. Surprised
As long as I don't lose it, though, hopefully we're good.
That's why I got the hat, bro. That's why I got the hat. Thin it out. Thin it
There
out.
it is, man. But yeah, man, yeah, we just kind of wanted to hop on today and kind of really talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market, some of the questions that we're getting as agents, and obviously you as a lender out here. It's been pretty crazy, especially these last few, I guess, 2 or 3 months, right?
It has. It has. I mean, I'm just, you see more of the data on the real estate side. I see it more on the loan side. But one thing that I think we can both agree on is that we've seen just inventory over the last few weeks keep going. People call me all the time. They're thinking about maybe selling their house and they're like, maybe I shouldn't sell it anymore. What do you think? I mean, to me, I like the competition because it means that there's more deals. I mean,
Right,
and when we live in a capitalist country, we know that competition creates opportunity for both sides to negotiate. It creates
right,
opportunity, for competition, and it's good. When you're limited, we know that that becomes a monopoly. You can control the price, you can control the negotiation when it's very one-sided. But I think seeing all these properties out there, I don't think it should panic people. I think it'll give an opportunity for you as a realtor who represents them to maybe get concessions covered, something that I haven't seen on purchase contracts in a long time.
so you're saying now that we could actually negotiate on deals.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Right. So yeah, we are seeing definitely a downward pressure for homeowners for property values. We're seeing a lot more price reductions. Just to give you a quick stat, back in January of this year, 2022, we had right around 3,000 active listings at any given time. Right now, we're hovering right around 17,500 up to 18,000. That's only in a matter of 6 months. So
Wow.
I would say, times six the amount of inventory in just a short period of time. And that's what's really starting to cause some of these price reductions on top of the interest rates having increased over the last couple of months, as well as I'm sure you've shared with a lot of buyers out there, right?
Correct. Interest rates, I think, have been the number one driver. Actually, I
Right.
don't think I know interest rates have kind of put a pause to the madness that we've had. I mean, Ozzy, you and I seen this. A lot of first time buyers were just put on the short end of the stick, man. They'd call us, and you had people who were either relocating or perhaps had an advantage because they had bought a property in the last 5 years, had a bunch of equity, and they were able to sell their home and
Yep.
have 100,000 in equity, to walk in and say, hey, I'm going to overbid on this home 20, $30,000 just to win it. Where
Right.
a first time home family unfortunately did not have those means. Maybe they were borrowing money for their down payment. They were using a
Right.
first time home buyer program to get most of their down payment or all of it covered. But then you still had the closing costs that needed to get covered. And now you had to overbid for a property that you had to come in with extra cash. I mean, man, it made it very difficult for buyers,
Yep.
to walk away with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're continuing to see a downward pressure for homeowners, I've also been starting to get a lot of questions from people that bought maybe a year or two ago, or maybe even folks that wanted to sell and buy a year ago, 6 months ago. But unfortunately, because some of these buyers that you're mentioning are going 50, 60, $100,000 above appraised value, a lot of these homeowners that needed to sell their house in order to take the equity out to put it onto the next house because they didn't have a lot of cash on hand to do up front, they needed to sell it and they weren't able to do that. So now, as we're beginning to see more inventory on the market, we're beginning to see actual negotiations starting to happen where people, sellers are beginning to accept contingent offers, maybe even below list price, or maybe even offering some closing costs where before we just weren't seeing that. So today, what we wanted to do is we wanted to share with you guys maybe a quick scenario in case you're thinking of maybe selling your house, purchasing, you wanted to move up into that 2,700 square foot from the 2,000 square foot that you're currently in right now. And we just want to give you some raw numbers as far as what it would really look like financially for you, because really financially is going to be the most important decision logically, whether you're going to make this decision to move forward or not. Would you agree, Edgar?
No, I absolutely would agree. So how does a conversation like that go, Ozzy? Pretend I'm the client. Ozzy, I got a house, man. The last couple of years have been crazy. But one thing we noticed during COVID is that we hate this house. We were quarantined in it. My kitchen
Right.
sucks, dude. It's falling apart on me, man. It needs all this kind of work. My AC unit, it works all right, but I'd rather really just have a newer home. You know,
Right. Exactly. So really the way it would go is just really finding out your motivation. What are your pain points behind why you're actually deciding to move? That's really going to be the most important determining factor. Motivation means your motive to action. So if you got some pain points where you're driving 30, 40 an hour a day on top of your 10-hour shift, that might be a means for where you're saying, hey, this is not going to be a good thing long term for my family and I'm not spending enough time with the family, whatever the case may be. The motivation has to actually be there. So really the first thing I would ask is, what's the reason you're looking to move?
Yeah, no, I guess that makes sense. I mean, and I recently bought a house in September, and I remember my motivation points at the time were, I started building some stuff. Man, I had more things around the house. I need a little bit of bigger space. My family had grown, and being able to have an opportunity where I could own a little bit more land, to me was obviously the biggest motivation factor, for moving. But I can see some of those points because some of the conversations I've had with people have been exactly that hey man, my kitchen is falling apart, and I really not won't want to don't want to put money into the house because I'll talk to them sometimes. I'll say, hey, maybe we'll refinance and take some money and fix your own home, but maybe I can see why those points, especially the driving time, man. The valley has just grown so much and the freeways are
Right.
so much congested. I can really see that point driving home.
Exactly. So really your motivation is going to have to be there in order to make this happen, especially with a market like this.
Okay.
Obviously, prices are still elevated. Interest rates are a little bit higher than where they were a few months ago. So really, it's going to take a person that's really wanting to make the move. And I don't know any thoughts that you have on that as well.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, I mean, especially with kids, right? Especially with kids, I think a lot of us, families who maybe are have bought a house in the last few years, and it's always that the family is growing that we need to expand. Whether our
Mhm.
family multiplied, maybe when we bought our house, we only had one child. Now we have two or three children that we need to accommodate, into some better schools. And I always see that as a big one, schools, right? Education, trying to live in a good district that has one. So, run a scenario for us, man. I bought a house, several years ago. Maybe I got some equity in the home. Everything that I'm looking at is maybe upwards of 500, 550 for what I
Okay.
need. And I've seen some more, and I'm shopping on Zillow. I'm going on Redfin, just some of the free tools, and I'm seeing inventory increases. I really got the bug. What am I looking
Right.
at, man? If I were to sell my house and maybe trying to get into something like that.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and do the quick scenario here. So I'm about to share my screen with you guys so we could go ahead and go over a scenario with you guys. All right. So first, we're going to go over if you were potentially to sell your house. Let's say
Right.
that right now you've been looking on Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com. You've been kind of doing a little bit of research. You kind of identified that you could probably sell your house maybe at 490, or maybe you've already talked to me and we've identified that we could sell it somewhere around 490. And let's say you purchased this house maybe 2015, 2014. So you got some really good equity in this home. If you were to sell this property, and let's say you live in Goodyear, You close this property at 490,000. Let's say you bought the house for 230,000 back in 2015, and right now you owe an amount of 215,000. After all expenses paid, you will net roughly $242,000 to go either pay some debt off, go ahead and put some money down on the next home that you're looking for, or you could use all that money down payment for the next house. So it really depends on what you want. So Edgar and I already went and we looked at some houses. We kind of just did an example here. Let's say that you, for whatever reason, fell in love with this house and it's 547,000. You're moving up to that 2,600 square foot home that your family needs. You're no longer in that 1987 home that like Edgar was saying needed so much work, it's falling apart. You're in a newer home, maybe got that pool now. So what Edgar is going to do here is he's going to run some scenarios based off of if you were to sell your property, the 490 net this 242, and you were to want to put 20% down on this exact home, what is your payment going to look like and how much down payment you actually need. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here. We've obviously got the example, and Edgar's gonna work it from here.
You got it. Thanks, Ozzy. No, I appreciate that. And by the way, that is a pretty house, man. That is a
Hey,
pretty house.
absolutely, man. That's why I chose it.
All right. So let me show you guys this scenario here that I had ran on that particular home. So let me expand this here a little bit. Let me know, Ozzy, when you can see my full screen.
I think I could see it pretty well. There it is.
All right, cool. All right, guys. So this is my webpage here. I'm Edgar Salcido. I am run a team here with my wife and my good partner, Bianca. I work with Guaranteed Rate Affinity. You guys can check us out here. I'll give you the apply button. You can contact me. I went right below on my website. I also have these really good tools here. I have a monthly mortgage calculator. Just kind of pre-ran some numbers on this house. Kind of got a little cheat sheet ahead of it with Ozzy giving me some information about it. So I ran the scenario, purchasing the home at that 547 price, putting 20% down. So as you saw with Ozzy, you're netting over $200,000 on that house. But let's just say you wanted to keep some of that for yourself. Maybe you want to put some in savings. You want to have, business venture, and you want to put 20% down. Still take some of that equity that you're making and put it all in your house so that you stay equitable in your new house, right? Sometimes we know what happens when we keep our money in the bank account. We tend to go through it. And then we look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I have nothing to show for my money. So in this case, you kind of shelter your cash and you put it into your investment, which is your home. And that way you have a nice piggy bank and it's reinvested back into your house. In this scenario, we're doing a 30-year fix. Now I'm running your credit around 720 or higher. I'm running a mid basis point of 5.5. Now, interest rates have been the biggest driving force and what's created this new surplus and availability. We've seen the market shift from a seller's perspective, which what happened when we had cheap money. Cheap interest rates made it favorable for sellers because now everybody wanted to buy. Everybody wanted to get a hold of those low, cheap rates. Therefore, the amount of buyers that increased out there shrunk the quantity of homes because as quickly as they were putting on the market, people were snatching them up because they wanted to lock down cheaper interest rates. It was cheaper money. And now with the interest rates having gone up a little bit, it's created now a surplus of homes on the buyer side. I'm sorry, for sellers, and for the buyers, giving them a surplus of options. So in this particular scenario here, you're putting 20% down on this home. I'm quoting a mid-range rate of about 5.5%. You're looking somewhere, we already ran the property taxes on this home. They come out to $186 a month. I'm estimating about $65 a month for homeowners insurance, which is about $780 annual policy. So as you can see here, your monthly breakdown on this particular home is about $2735 out the door. Okay, that does not include if there's an HOA. That's just the monthly payment on the house itself. You don't have to have mortgage insurance or what's called PMI on the property because it already has been taken care of when it comes because you prepaid it. You put that 20% down. Now, you had a lot more money to play with. Let's just say you want to put $200,000 down on this home and see what that does to your monthly payment here. Let's see, down payment 200,000, purchase price 547. Let me refresh my screen here. 547. Where's my calculator? Here it is. 547. Down payment 200,000. Let's go to advanced settings, 5.5, keep everything the same. And taxes, we said we're 186, and homeowners insurance is $65 a month. So now, as you can see, our payment dropped by an additional $500 or so. We're at 221 now. So again, if you say, hey, Edgar, I really want to keep all my equity and put it reinvested back into the home, I'm doing okay financially, I don't need the cash, I'd rather just take my money from one house and put it to the next, which is what a lot of people do. A lot of people,
Right.
it's their way to safeguard their money. Let's be honest, a lot of us, I mean, Anazi, you would have to agree, the biggest vehicle of wealth for us thus far in our lives have been the home. If we
Right.
hadn't bought this home 5
Absolutely.
years ago, there'd be no way I'd have $200,000 to put on a house. My,
100%. I
my,
completely agree. And right here with that down payment that you're doing, 200,000, we were saying that I think they're coming out with like 243. So they still have some extra cash in case they need to pay some things off. Or the other thing that they could potentially do is buy down the rate, right? If they plan on staying in that house for a long period of time, it might be something they can potentially do.
Absolutely. You always have that availability to perhaps buy down the rate on the home. And keep in mind, I mean, I've been doing this long enough, Ozzy, where I've been in it a decade, and I've seen these cycles already of rates up, rates down, rates up, rates down. You can keep some of that cash, but let's just say, and one of the things is that when you do business with Ozzy and I, we keep we want to be more than just transactional. We want to become your friends during this process, and be your go-to guys that, hey, when the market does change later, we keep you guys informed, and we call you, hey, the rates went back down, guess what, the rates are down to 4%. Look at what it does to your payment, just saved you an extra 400
Right.
bucks right off the payment, right? If they drop a little bit more than that, where does it take you for us to call you and say, hey, let's refinance this house? Maybe you don't want to put all your cash up front on the property. You can keep some of it, save it for rainy days, and then later we can come on and call you and, hey, it's a good time now to refinance your house, because these things are cyclical. Now, the rates could be up for the next 2-3 years, then they come back down and stabilize, and they create another what we call a refinance boom. Everybody that buys during the next 3 years, these are the rates they get, and then they refinance. Ozzy, I bought my house in 2011, my first home, right out of the first big housing market crash. Let's just say that happened, right? The Great Recession that they call it. My rate was like 5.25, 5.5, I believe, when I bought my house. It was an
Same
FHA
here.
loan. And I was in that house a few years, and I want to say like in 2013, 2014, when we saw the first rate dip, I refinanced. I had built equity in my home where I got rid of the FHA. I got rid of an FHA loan, put it into a conventional home loan, and my rate dropped. I want to say back then they went down to like 3.5, 4%, something like that. I was able to get rid of the PMI. I didn't pull any money out of my house because I didn't see a need to. But again, the reason I bring my personal experience is because these cycles happen. These cycles in the real estate industry happen, and there's always opportunities. Right now, the opportunity has changed in my eyes to buyers. There's properties. You're going to be
Right.
able to get some deals. Ozzy, you're going to be able to do what you do best, man. Negotiate on their behalf, and no.
Right. And that's why it's very, very, a very good time for people that are looking to sell and buy, because a lot of people say, oh, well, if I sell right now, which is a good time, because now as we're seeing more inventory come up, we're seeing prices starting to flatten out. So maybe we're seeing some sort of peak. We don't know if it's a long-term thing where it's going to continue to go down. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, maybe it goes back up. Back in 2020, it took when COVID happened, it took a small dip, and then all of a sudden it just skyrocketed, right? Right now we're seeing it taking a dip once again, where these homeowners are having that opportunity that they weren't having before. And again, it goes back to that motivation. And you really got to move. You got to move, no matter what, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to happen.
Right.
Now, if you're in a situation where you got great equity in your home, you got the amount of space you need, you don't need more, you don't need less, you're perfect where you're at. There's no reason for you to stir up the waves and go ahead and get yourself another place right now. It's really
Right.
for more of the people that are really needing to make that transition, and that's what we're here to do, is to help bring these numbers to light, because right now I think it was around $2,200 if you were to come in with that $200,000 down payment.
Sure.
Realistically, the average rental market right now in Maricopa County is $2,300. So if you were to go move up to that house that your family really needs and would have sold that other property, you're paying basically what a tenant is paying right across the street.
Ozzy, I have a rental property and I'm charging $2,500 a month. On a
There you
four
go.
bedroom. It is in a cul-de-sac. It does have an RV gate, but you're right. I mean, that house is way nicer. My house is a 71, and it is upgraded, fully remodeled. With recessed lighting and granite throughout. But I mean, geez, that house, so was what, built in the 2000s. 20,
2005, I think it was. Yep.
2005. And again, much nicer area. What was that? Litchfield, Goodyear.
It was in Goodyear, actually. Yeah.
In Goodyear, Goodyear, which the West Valley, as we know, is one of the fastest growing areas of the valley. Good education out there, good employment. They are building a lot of good things out there.
Hmm.
For people. So, man, there's a lot of great info. For those of you that are listening and perhaps want to hear more about the Phoenix market and what's happening out here, we're seeing a big boom in inventory, which again, it creates opportunities. It's not necessarily a moment to panic. It's more of an opportunity. How can this opportunity benefit me? And I think it's going to benefit a lot of buyers that were on the sidelines, who couldn't
Hmm.
overbid, who were
Right.
waiting on there. And most importantly, I recommend that maybe you're still in a lease right now, Ozzy. Maybe you're renting, right? Maybe you're not in a position to sell a home right now and walk away with equity. Well, let's get your finances in order so that when that lease is up in 4, 5, 6 months, depending on when you resigned it, that Ozzy and I can come help you and be able to make an offer. If the market's still favorable for buyers at that time, guess what? We'll be able to negotiate. There is still first
Right.
time buyers available. Ozzy might be able to get you some closing costs paid on their behalf. Maybe we can negotiate some repairs. Ozzy, when was the last time repairs were negotiated? People were waiting.
I know, right?
That,
They barely started in the last like few months, where you're starting to see people negotiate closing costs, negotiate price, negotiate repairs. Like, you're starting to see people, listing agents calling back saying, "Hey, what did your client think of the house?" Whereas before, it was almost like, "Shy away, you
yeah,
peasants! Like, get away from me. We don't need you guys."
for
We
real.
don't need your buyers. We got 20 for this house. But now it's starting to change. And this is not to scare sellers either, because prices are still very, very,
Oh yeah.
very good as for homeowners. It's just that it's taking a dip from where it was at, and it's bringing a lot of sellers back to reality, saying,
Right.
okay, this doesn't increase forever. It's gotta flatten out at some point. And it looks like it's kind of leveling off for us. So it's not to scare homeowners right now. It's really to help them understand that they have great equity, and they could actually potentially still gain that great equity, go put it in the next house, and still get a reasonable payment.
Ozzy, I remember having some of the conversations with some of the your referrals that you sent over that we closed. Like, hey, look, someone's gonna overpay for your house $20,000, $30,000. You know what you need to do with that extra $20,000, $30,000? You're gonna need to overpay for your new property $20,000, $30,000.
110%. That
You
was
know,
true. So
it's
yeah,
not
you were getting
like,
more money, but you also had to pay more money to get the next house. So right now you might have to be more realistic on the price, but when you go purchase out there, you're at least going to say, well, at least I got the opportunity to negotiate some closing costs, where I got my foot in the door, and I was one out of two offers, one out of three offers, versus one out of 15 offers. And some of these people are waiving appraisals, waiving inspections, and you're like, I'm not gonna do that.
insane. How do you waive an inspection, dude? That's crazy.
Yep,
You know what you're getting
exactly.
into.
Exactly. And honestly, I saw people do it. People that really needed a place, they actually
Yeah.
went ahead and do it. And it's
Ugly.
unfortunate, because they were in such a time bind that they just couldn't wait any longer.
Sure.
And I think it's happened to a lot of buyers. They purchased a house where they didn't want to buy a house. They purchased a house that they didn't like. They purchased a house that was too small, or not really fitting their criteria. And
Sure.
now they're still sitting in that house saying, "Shoot, I should have just waited, or maybe it's time for me to move now within a year." So,
Sure.
but the good thing is that there's opportunity.
Well, I can say that the people that have bought home in the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, they all have equity in their homes. They all
Yep.
have equity in their homes. Even if the price is, there is a 5-10% reduction, you still made money on that home. You
Yep.
still made money. So the best decision you could have done was purchase. If you would have been renting 2, 3, more years, look at where you'd been. You'd be buying at that 550 home with no money. With
Right.
no money. And if you buy in the last 3 years, you're selling and you're walking away with a chunk of change that'll put you in a good financial position out there. Well, guys, I hope you find this program useful. We hope to do more videos and bring this out to you guys. This was a quick scenario, and if you guys got ideas that you would like for Ozzy and I to talk about, again, we're Ozzy and I are strictly in the Phoenix market. We can talk Phoenix numbers out here. If maybe you're looking to move to Phoenix from where you're at, we would love to chat with you. Maybe you want to sell a house somewhere else and move down to Phoenix. We'd love for you to get in contact with us and make that relocation to the Phoenix area possible. And
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you guys don't have an agent representing you in the other state where you're at, we also have people that we know across state lines that could potentially help you either sell your house out there if you're looking to move from a different state out to Arizona. So
good to know.
we're here to help. If you guys have any questions, my name's Ozzy. My phone number is 623-332-3929. I work for AZ and Associates Real Estate, and we're definitely here to help.
Awesome, guys. Edgar Salcido. I'm with Guaranteed Rate Affinity, but also known as 24/7 Hello. And you can find us both. Ozzy has his social media on Instagram. What's your handle, Ozzy?
It's Ozzy underscore sells underscore houses. I just changed it. It used to be Ozzy Corn, but now I changed it to Ozzy underscore sells underscore houses.
You got it. And all of this will be in the description, guys. So be sure to follow us. Ozzy makes a lot of good content out there, man. He's very creative with his reels. So again, guys, we look forward to hearing from you, and most importantly, put down in the comments. We'd love to hear what you thought about this program and some future topics you guys would like us to discuss. Have a great one, guys.